As mentioned, I'm co-founder of Safary. We're a community-first company helping Web3 teams measure their marketing CAC, channel ROI, and customer LTV. And I wanted to give Luke a quick shout out and the Lattice team for exactly that. I was going to say, my co-founder, Ellie and I, sitting right here, first got into Web3 in December 2021. There was almost nothing written about Web3 growth, which was particularly odd because it was the bull market and nearly everything was growing like absolutely crazy. That is until a month later when the Lattice team put out what I consider to be the first Web3 growth playbook. And their article really helped shape my early thinking around the need for people to be talking about Web3 growth. And we started Safari's community, which is the first community of Web3 growth leaders, about a month later after that. As an intimate group of Web3 growth thought leaders from around the world, many of them I'm sure are going to be with us later today. So to kick off the summit, I'll be sharing some insights from Safari's community on where we've been, what the Web3 growth industry looks like today, and where we're headed. So that's a little bit about Safari's community. So the Web2 marketing technology space grew tremendously over the past decade. There were about 150 companies in 2011 and over 11,000 companies in the space today. And so many of the companies that we know today were founded in that decade of the 2010s. Mixpanel in 2010, AppsFlyer in 2011, Adjust in 2012, Amplitude in 2014, and the list goes on. And the 2010s, I really think about as the golden age of digital marketing. The marketing tech stack became rich in every area that mattered, from robust attribution to DSPs, to revenue monitoring, sophisticated LTV analysis, and marketers really have the tools to understand the ROI and downstream impact of all of their actions. Yet by the late 2010s, the tides began to turn. The digital marketing gold rush finally came to an end, sparked by a lot of different things. For example, Europe's GDPR in 2018, California's Consumer Privacy Act in 2020, App Tracking Transparency Act, and Google announcing the end of cookies in 2021. So in so many ways, what had been built up to near marketing perfection, the real data revolution in digital marketing, began to crumble with the turn of the decade. And not only were Web2 tools becoming less effective, but buyer behavior is also changing. We've seen this particularly in the beginning of the 2020s. The 2020s are the era of dark social and dark search, where users primarily learn about products and services from channels like Discord, Telegram, Slack, Reddit, and ChatGPT, which are notoriously difficult for marketers to track. All this means that marketers can no longer rely on the same low-cost ads, engaged users, and targeting methods that they were able to use throughout the 2010s. So Web3's created a really unique environment for growth. I think that we've all seen this working in the space, and I believe that it's also very relevant to where the world is headed as marketing becomes much more community-centric and also privacy-centric. And to respond to this new environment, new tools and new systems are needed. That's why it's no surprise that the first wave of Web3 growth tool builders were largely centered in three major categories, some of which we see here. The first being community tooling. So community-led growth is very powerful, as many of us in the Web3 space know. Yet community builders have to spend an inordinate amount of time on super manual tasks that can be solved with automation. So a lot of the first Web3 tool builders tried to tackle the dark social channels with community automation tools and Discord bots and Telegram bots. The second major category was analytics, trying to understand the unique characteristics of community members, both in terms of their off-chain activity, but also in dark social, but also on-chain activity through their wallets. And the third was CRMs, so trying to make sense of how to bring community tooling and analytics together with actionable outputs. Today, there are nearly 200 companies thinking deeply about what this new digital marketing landscape might look like. They collectively raised over $600 million in VC funding, Nearly all of them are at the pre-seed or seed stage companies. Messaging, quests, and loyalty are among the most well-funded categories, each attracting over 100 million for their category. Meanwhile, analytics and loyalty are the most crowded categories, each with over 25 teams, followed by community tooling and messaging with 15 teams each. So broadly speaking, the map that we see here today fits into three macro categories, which I'll go into. One is marketing systems, the second is user acquisition, and the third is user experience. So marketing systems are the tools that we use to run a marketing organization behind the scenes. Many Web3 growth leaders struggle to build their marketing system because growth funnel data is siloed both off-chain and dark social and on-chain wallets and transactions. And user experience is also fragmented across platforms, creating new challenges for Web3 teams. So growth analytics companies are aggregating on-chain data, platform, and social data to surface insights on Web3 holders and Web3 communities. The analytics space has become a little bit commoditized at this point in time after being in the space for over a year, leaving several players to verticalize. Who's here in the back, and Quest will provide really deep insights on Web3 gaming analytics. And there are several other companies powering more advanced analytics around how growth occurs. Companies like us at Safary are helping Web3 teams understand which of their marketing channels are driving on-chain revenue. Attitudes around advertising have shifted dramatically over the last couple of months, especially as the Web3 market matures and demand for user growth is higher than ever. We're starting to see an advertising tech boom in its early innings in Web3 as new teams face new expectations of ROI and CAC-based performance goals. And broadly speaking, we see there are three major groups within the UA space, which you'll be hearing more from later today. The first is ad networks that bundle ad real estate from publishers and sell it to advertisers. They bridge the gap between advertisers and publishers by creating a more efficient system, letting advertisers reach multiple publishers through a single network and platform. There are sort of two generations of Web3 ad networks that we've seen. The first generation was around 2015 to 2021. This is the Coinzilla and BitMedias of the world. They're largely Web2 networks serving crypto publishers and audiences. And the second generation, which started in 2022, leverages Web3 data for targeting Web3 natives. So these are like Hypelab and Slicer, but also both in the room. We're also starting to see early Web3 native advertising experiments. On the publisher side, there's one called the Modern Billboard Project, which created a network of startups selling real estate on their websites as NFTs to shepherd an alternative to centralized advertising services. The other category is custom platforms that act as engagement marketplaces. They create networks of Web3 users and direct them towards their attention towards completing specific actions or offers on behalf of companies. And while ad networks, as we mentioned, operate on a CPM or CPC basis, Quest platforms effectively act as CPA, cost per acquisition, based networks, incentivizing mid to down funnel actions and facilitating a more direct relationship between companies and prospective users. And Quest have historically been used to drive more short-term vanity metrics like social followers and content engagement, but are now being used to drive deeper funnel engagement via multi-step quests with both off-chain and on-chain steps. And several of the most reputable teams are now using quests for UA, including Coinbase, UIDX, Uniswap, Solana, Phantom, and Axela. The final category of UA is affiliate and referral platforms. They streamline the process of discovering, tracking, and rewarding their B2B partners and B2C advocates. Web2 affiliate and referral models typically pay referrals a fixed fee. In Web2, you can think about this as like $25 for referring a friend. But in Web3 enables payouts to be much more dynamic and less lucrative. So for example, you can get 5% of the revenue generated by your friend with the Web3 referral system. And Web3 teams are beginning to leverage referral programs and affiliate programs much more these days, especially in the wake of the tremendous success of Web3 programs from GMX, Live, and Coinbase. And as a result, we've seen this as the breakout category in the first half of this year. There are twice as many teams built in this space than there were 6 months ago. Final category that I'm going to speak a little bit about is loyalty programs, which are leveraging rewards such as discounts, access, and experiences to positively impact customers while driving repeat purchases and long-term retention. We really think about Web3 loyalty as not just a copy-paste of Web2 loyalty, but as rather meant to unlock acquisition by engaging the community to be part of the marketing arm, and eventually also to help with product development too. And within the Web3 loyalty space, we most commonly think about this as helping Web2 brands engage with NFTs. And they initially jumped into Web3 with more of a short-term mindset, like trying to drive revenue, but quickly faced criticism from the Web3 community for using NFT drops basically as like one-off cash grabs. But in response, they're now focusing on using NFTs as tools to increase long-term engagement and loyalty. And so, thanks for listening. It takes a village. Safary is not just a company, but a collective of top growth leaders who share insights like these with us so we can grow the space together. There are a few folks here that contributed to the insights that I shared today, and we have a full 10-page report coming out on the Web3 growth stack next week. And so if you want to learn more about Safary, our platform, or our community, you can find us at Safary, Safary.com. Thank you.